Revealed. Millionaire'S sickness exposed Humiliated Maid'S incredible truth touches hearts. The sun painted warm hues across Willow Creek, a suburb that embodied the American dream. Yet, for Amy, the 35-year-old maid hustling through her days, those dreams felt like a cruel joke. She dusted and scrubbed for Marcus, a millionaire whose bitter isolation was matched only by his arrogance. Amy sighed as she mopped the polished floors of his mansion, each stroke echoing the weight of her responsibilities. Her son Timmy, just 10 years old, had dreams larger than the world around him. A scientist, he said, but the doctor says. Amy's heart tightened. Timmy's ongoing battle with a chronic illness felt like an invisible chain, dragging both of them down. The neighborhood pulsed with life, idyllic houses flaunting tidy gardens and cheerful interactions. Amy watched from behind Marcus's tall hedges, feeling a pang of envy when her neighbors exchanged smiles. Yet, beneath that veneer, her soul was battered by Marcus's disdain. "Stay in your lane, Amy," he'd sneered, tossing degradation like confetti at a party. Each barb drilled deeper into her self-worth, reminding her she was a maid, a servant, not part of the elite circle, but the struggle wasn't just hers. Every night after work, she would sit beside Timmy, his small form engulfed in blankets. "Mom, I'm going to invent something that will cure everyone." His bright eyes sparkled with hope. But Amy, clutching her heart, felt the future slipping through her fingers like sand. She juggled 2 jobs to keep their heads above water, the stress etched on her brows. Then came that fateful evening. The community had gathered for the annual block party, buzzing with laughter and joy. When Marcus spotted her, he didn't hold back. "Look everyone, our neighborhood maid. I'll bet she'd brush my shoes if I asked." The laughter that erupted cut deeper than any knife could. Amy's cheeks burned. This was not how it was meant to be: a mother, a fighter, reduced to a laughingstock. Just hours later, a tragic accident left Marcus in the local hospital. The once invincible man, now vulnerable and frail. As Amy sat in the waiting room, her own fears of Timmy's worsening condition haunted her like a dark cloud. She sensed a shift of trembling in the air that hinted at change. Everyone she once considered distant now surrounded her, nurturing her with their shared pain and kindness. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she paced the sterile halls, she caught glimpses of Marcus, unguarded. For the first time, she saw him devoid of his money-fueled arrogance, a frail man trapped by a facade. Their lives intertwined. A mystifying connection began to form while they faced the giants of their circumstances. Could she forgive the embodiment of resentment? His pain reflected her own struggles, awakening compassion in her heart. The question loomed heavy in the air: would pride keep them apart, or would they find unity in vulnerability? As the community gathered around them, whispers of hope rippled through the corridors. Would forgiveness shine through their broken hearts, or would their lives remain eternally separated by walls of contempt? Amy felt a stirring within her, a flicker of light amid the darkness, bracing herself for the monumental struggle to come. The sterile scent of antiseptic hung in the air as Amy waited, fingers brushing anxiously against the cool metal of the chair's armrest. Her mind flitted between thoughts of Timmy's worsening condition and Marcus, now just a shadow of the man who had once belittled her existence. Compassion had found its way into her heart, but it wrestled mightily with anger and hurt. It was confusing to feel this tug-of-war within her. Marcus's room was quiet, the beeping machines the only reminder that he was still alive, still fighting. The man she had loathed so fiercely appeared broken, stripped of his wealth and power. She approached the door cautiously, her heart thumping against her ribs like a caged bird. What would he say? What could she say? Just as she gathered the courage to enter, she was interrupted by Sarah, her neighbor. "Amy, I've been meaning to check on you," Sarah said, her voice warm and concerned. A wave of relief washed over Amy. Sarah had always been kind, a bright spot in the often cold world of Willow Creek. I'm all right. Just hoping for the best with Timmy and Marcus, she muttered, meeting Sarah's gaze. They say we all have a battle we're fighting, right? Sarah offered. You're strong, Amy. Don't let those barbs from Marcus define you. Those words felt like a bomb on Amy's wounded spirit. Slowly, she nodded, swallowing hard. As much as Marcus had hurt her, he was also a product of his circumstances, molded by loneliness and pain. Could she extend compassion to him? Just then, the hospital room door creaked open, and a doctor stepped out. Miss Parker? He called gently. He is asking for you. Me? Amy blinked, the surprise stinging her eyes. Her heart raced anew, the prospect of meeting him shifting like quicksand beneath her. She felt a tightening in her throat as she stepped over the threshold. Marcus lay in the hospital bed, pale and vulnerable. The first thing Amy noticed was how his arrogance seemed to have slipped away, replaced by an openness she had never seen before. Amy, he rasped, his voice weak. You came. I didn't know I had a choice, she admitted, her voice trembling. I didn't realize how hard you fight, he confessed, a hint of remorse threading through his words. You've been taking care of things, keeping yourself together while I was caught in my own world. For a moment, they were just two people, stripped of titles and roles. Their eyes locked, and she felt the weight of 1,000 unspoken words between them. I'm sorry for how I treated you, he continued, his gaze softening. The sincerity in his voice pulled at the corners of her heart. In that fragile moment, she saw not just the man who had ridiculed her, but someone grappling with his own demons. Thank you, Amy whispered, emotion gnawing at her voice. It's been hard. Marcus's brow furrowed slightly. I see that now. Do you think, when I'm better, we could start over? The question echoed in the small room, hanging like a fragile thread. Could she imagine a world where they might bridge their chasm of differences? Timmy's dreams flickered through her mind. The boy needed hope, a belief that change was possible. As she nodded slowly, something shifted deep within her. There was a chance for reparation, not just between her and Marcus, but within herself too. The past could bind them or unite them. It was her choice to make. The possibility of tomorrow hung in the air, charged with a mix of hope and uncertainty. Would this moment mark the start of something new? Or was it just another twist in their complicated story? And in the back of her mind, Amy wondered, could Marcus truly change? Or was this just an illusion crafted by desperation? The hum of the machines filled the hospital room, a stark contrast to the silence that hung in the air between Amy and Marcus. She stood there, grappling with his words. Start over? Did he mean it? Could she trust him? Doubt tugged at her heart, threatening to unravel the fragile thread of connection they had just begun to weave. How are you feeling? Amy asked, her brow furrowed. It was a simple question, but the weight behind it felt monumental. Like I'm waking up from a long sleep, Marcus replied, his voice still shaky but slowly gaining strength. It's surreal. I've had a lot of time to think, to look back on things I took for granted. He paused, looking out the window at the gathering clouds. Including you. Her heart pounded. How strange it was to see him like this, so exposed. All those years of resentment and bitterness melted away, replaced with something she had never expected: compassion. Why did it take a diagnosis for you to see me? Amy said, the words slipping out before she could stop them. I was blinded, he admitted, by my own arrogance, by the greed that stole my humanity. I didn't see what was right in front of me. I was so focused on winning, and now I see the cost of that. A lump formed in Amy's throat. She thought of Timmy, the light in his eyes dimming as he faced hurdles so much bigger than himself. Could she show that boy what it meant to forgive? To start anew? I'm not sure what starting over looks like, Amy said, her voice wavering. I don't know if I can just forget the past. I don't expect you to, Marcus said quickly. I don't know if I can either. But maybe we don't have to forget. Maybe we just need to learn to live with it. Together. The sincerity in his eyes was like a beacon, pulling her in despite her reservations. This was a side of Marcus she had never seen, and she found herself wanting to believe him, wishing for more. Just as quickly, fear gripped her. What if he slipped back into his old ways? What if this was just a moment of vulnerability in a life otherwise defined by arrogance? I need time, she finally whispered, blinking back tears. I need to figure things out for myself. Timmy. Marcus nodded slowly, understanding etched on his face. Of course. You've done so much for him. For us. I'll be here when you're ready. Her heart warmed at his tenderness, a side of Marcus that made this moment feel possible. Would he truly be different? Could their lives intertwine in a meaningful way? She glanced back at the doorway, half expecting Sarah's voice to guide her again. "Thank you, Marcus, for not giving up on us," Amy said, the weight of her words like a promise. Marcus managed a small smile, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I've spent my life avoiding the truth, Amy. Sharing it with you feels freeing." Light filtered in through the foggy window as the clouds began to part. It was a small, hopeful moment, brightening the oppressive air. Just then, the door swung open again. A nurse entered, her smile bright and genuine. "Mr. Darnell, I have some news. Your test results have come in." The tension in the room froze, and both Amy and Marcus leaned forward, hearts racing. "Good news?" Marcus asked, breathless. The nurse hesitated for a second. "It's complicated." As the words hung heavy in the air, uncertainty flickered in Marcus's eyes, and the fragile bubble of hope between them began to tremble. Amy's heart pounded violently in her chest. Was this the turning point they'd both been waiting for, or a devastating detour they hadn't seen coming? The moment stretched, and she couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was only beginning, fraught with twists they had yet to face. What would the nurse reveal? Would it shatter the fragile bond they were starting to build, or would it make them stronger than ever? The nurse took a deep breath, her expression more serious now. "Mr. Darnell, the results are mixed. The doctors have identified an underlying condition that's more concerning than we initially thought. We need to conduct further tests to determine a more accurate diagnosis." The words dropped between them like a stone. Amy watched Marcus's face shift from hope to worry in an instant. His shoulders slumped, and for a moment, the spark in his eyes dimmed. "What do you mean more concerning?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It could be nothing, but it also might be more serious." "That's what we need to figure out," the nurse explained, her tone firm yet soothing. Amy felt her heart clench. She had wished for clarity, but now she was drowning in uncertainty. She reached out, placing a reassuring hand on Marcus's arm. "We'll face this together, okay?" Her voice was steadier than she felt. He met her gaze, and something unspoken passed between them. "Together," he echoed, though she could see the tremor in his hands. The nurse moved on. "For now, I suggest keeping your spirits up. You've come this far, and we'll take it one step at a time." She smiled softly, her warmth cutting through the tension. Amy appreciated her encouragement, but it felt like a Band-Aid on a deeper wound. Time felt like it was slipping away, amplifying every unasked question. Could they truly start over if shadows from the past kept looming over them? The nurse took her leave, closing the door gently behind her. Silence enveloped the room once again, thicker this time, wrapping around them with a chill. Amy could practically hear the thumping of her own heart, echoing off the sterile walls. What if it's bad news next time? Marcus's voice trembled, a crack slicing through his newfound resolve. "What if I stop?" Amy interrupted, stepping closer. "We can't think like that. You're here, you're fighting, and I'm with you." His brow furrowed, a mix of fear and gratitude swirling in his expression. "You really mean that? Even after everything?" "Especially after everything," she replied, her voice firm. "Life isn't clean or certain, Marcus. It's messy, and we have to face that." The vulnerability between them felt like a bridge, one that they could choose to walk together or let falter under the weight of doubt. Before Marcus could respond, the door swung open again, and this time it was Sarah, Marcus's assistant. She rushed in, her face pale and anxious. "I just heard. You're okay, right? Just a health scare," Amy reassured her, noticing the way Marcus kept tapping his fingers on the bedside. Sarah stepped closer, noticing the tension in the room. "You need to take it easy, Marcus. Remember, stress isn't good. We can figure this out. Both of you." "Thanks, Sarah," Marcus replied with a forced smile. But Amy saw the way he clenched his jaw, keeping the worries bottled inside. After a moment, Sarah's eyes softened. "I'll keep the team updated. You just focus on getting better." As she left, a strange silence settled again, this time heavier. Marcus turned back to Amy, and she saw the flicker of old habits creeping back in, the desire to retreat behind the walls he had built up over the years. "I don't want to be the person who brings you down," he murmured. "You're not," she countered, her voice unwavering. But if we're really going to do this, if we're going to start over, you've got to let me in. He searched her eyes, and it felt like an eternity before he spoke again. What if I can't? Then we try anyway, Amy replied, stepping closer, her heart racing with the truth they were facing. For the first time since stepping into this room, Marcus cracked a genuine smile, breaking through the uncertainty that loomed. Okay, let us try. But as they started to explore this fragile ground, they both knew what lay ahead could be the toughest test of all. Amy glanced out the window again, seeing the clouds swirling above, a reminder that storms would always come. But the sun would break through again, wouldn't it? And as they both held their breath, waiting for news, Amy couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest moments were yet to come. What more would they discover about themselves and each other as they navigated this path together? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows through the hospital window. The light felt warm, yet the room remained cold, void of comfort. Amy watched Marcus, who sat on the edge of the bed, his fingers still nervously tapping. She wanted to take his hand, to anchor him to this moment, but there was an invisible barrier, a hesitance that hummed between them. Maybe I should just go home for a while, he suggested, glancing away from her gaze. I don't want to burden you with everything. Her heart sank. You're not a burden, Marcus. This is your fight, and I want to be in it with you. He turned back sharply, vulnerability flickering in his eyes. What if I don't come back the same? What if I'm not the man you fell for? Then we'll figure it out together. You're not defined by this illness, she said, her voice unwavering. You're so much more than that. A long silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken fears. She noticed a distant look on his face, as if he were already drifting away, searching through memories and emotions that threatened to overtake him. Without a word, she walked over and sat beside him on the bed. The slight warmth of his body sent a rush of familiarity, a reminder of their connection. Remember that time you took me to that little cafe by the river? You told me you didn't believe in fairy tales, but wanted to create a few of your own? Marcus chuckled lightly, but it was clear the laughter didn't reach his eyes. Yeah, I remember. You thought I was crazy. I thought you were charming, she corrected with a soft smile. And you still are. You have to hold on to that charm. Let it remind you who you are. He met her gaze again, the shadows shifting. I do want to hold on to that, but I'm scared. What if it's easier to give up? You can't. The intensity of her words surprised even her. You owe it to yourself to keep fighting. While you're holding on, I'll be here, reminding you of all the reasons to stay. This time, a flicker of hope seemed to spark in Marcus's eyes, and she felt her own heart lift ever so slightly. Just then, a soft knock disrupted the intimate moment. The doctor stepped in, clipboard in hand, the weight of seriousness etched on his face. Mr. Darnell, I wanted to discuss your results further. Amy glanced at Marcus, who straightened instantly. He looked like a man bracing for a storm. She squeezed his hand, anchoring them both. The doctor began to speak, but Amy caught a glimpse of flickering emotions in Marcus's expression, a fear so palpable it wrapped around them both like heavy fog. The doctor went through the details, explaining slowly and deliberately, but all Amy could focus on was the increasing tension radiating from Marcus. Each technical term felt like a punch, each pause an endless stretch of uncertainty. Finally, the doctor concluded, it will take time to identify the next steps. But know that we have a plan in place. What kind of plan? Marcus asked, his voice hoarse. The doctor glanced at Amy, then back at Marcus. We'll conduct more invasive tests. They'll give us clarity, but there are risks. Risks? The word hung heavily, and Amy felt her stomach tightening. Yes, the doctor continued before stepping back slightly. We need to explore every avenue to ensure we're not missing anything significant. Marcus looked at Amy, fear etched in every feature. What if the risk is too high? What if it changes everything? Her heart pounded. We can't think that way, she urged, even as uncertainty gnawed at her. That flicker of hope dimmed, replaced by the weight of impending decisions. Marcus was a man caught between the past and a future painted in uncertainty. Together, remember? She breathed, searching for strength in their shared vulnerability. But as the heaviness settled again, Marcus's expression turned pained, and for a moment, she couldn't tell if she was comforting him or herself. As the doctor exited, the silence was deafening, filled with questions left unasked and fears unvoiced. What do we do now? Marcus whispered, his voice trembling. And with that question, she realized that every moment ahead might lead them to truths they weren't ready to face. Would they emerge stronger, or would the shadows swallow them whole? Marcus sat back on the bed, the world around him spinning. His mind raced, tangled with thoughts he couldn't quite grasp. The doctor's words echoed in his head, blurring into an indistinguishable hum of anxiety. He felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, the ground beneath him crumbling. What do we do now? He repeated, his voice barely above a whispered. Amy's heart twisted at the anguish in his tone. She gathered her thoughts, trying to pull something, anything, from the depths of uncertainty that threatened to consume them. We take it one step at a time, she finally said, her own voice trembling slightly. We don't need to decide everything right now. Just start with what you feel comfortable with. His eyes flickered with hesitation, but she could see a glimmer of appreciation in how she fought to hold on to some rays of light amidst the darkness. Honestly, it feels overwhelming. Like I'm drowning, he confessed, his voice breaking under the strain. Then let us find a life raft together, she urged gently. For a moment, silence settled over them again, each of them grappling with unspoken fears. Then Amy posed a question that had been gnawing at her. If you could choose to do one thing today, anything at all, what would it be? Marcus blinked, momentarily thrown off guard. What do you mean? I mean, she pressed, if you could step away from all of this for just a moment, if you could seize a little slice of joy, what would it be? We can make that happen, even here. He furrowed his brow, the idea pulling him from the depths of despair. Well, before all this, I loved going on walks by the river. Just being outside, breathing fresh air. Then let us do that. We'll get you out of this room, even if just for a little while, Amy said, a spark of determination igniting within her. She would not let him withdraw. Not now. He hesitated, uncertainty dancing in his features. But the doctors might not forget them for just a moment. She interrupted, listen to what you want. Just for today, it's not about the illness. It's about you and me. We need this moment. He considered her words, visibly battling his fears. Finally, with a deep breath, he nodded. All right, let us take that walk. Within minutes, Amy helped him carefully maneuver as they left the hospital building. The starkness of fluorescent lights faded as sunlight kissed their skin. The fresh air wrapped around them, enveloping them in a gentle embrace. As they walked, the rustle of leaves and the distant sound of laughter welcomed them like old friends. I'd forgotten how alive it feels out here, Marcus said, his voice growing stronger with every step. See, just a little taste of freedom, Amy replied, smiling brightly. She was relieved to see a bit of life return to his eyes, but worry still nestled in her heart. She couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was merely a lull in the storm. In that fleeting moment of serenity, they paused by the river, watching the water shimmer and dance under the fading daylight. It felt magical, that moment, that promise of normalcy. But reality loomed just beneath the surface, reminding them both that this was merely a temporary escape. Not wanting to break the spell, Marcus turned to her. Thanks for this, Amy. I really needed it. Me too, she responded softly. But deep down, an ache grew stronger. Marcus, what happens after this? What if the tests don't go the way we want? His smile faded as the shadows encroached once more. I don't know, he admitted, facing the weight of the unknown. And just like that, the warmth of their moment flickered. The river's gentle murmur turned into a chilling gurgle as the shadows of uncertainty crept closer, wrapping their fears tightly once more. Will we get through this? He asked, his voice barely above a murmur, searching for solace in her gaze. She hesitated, her heart pounding as her mind swirled with unsaid truths. I hope so, she said gently, but even as the words whispered from her lips, she realized how fragile hope truly was. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the emotions cast long shadows, and she was left wondering if they were brave enough to face the darkness they were about to encounter. And as the last light faded, a new question loomed. What would they uncover about themselves in the next chapter of this uncertain journey? The river whispered as the sun melted into the horizon, leaving behind a canvas of twilight colors. Marcus and Amy stood close, consumed by their thoughts, each heartbeat drumming the impending unknown. I wish we could just outrun this, Marcus said, breaking the silence. His face was shadowed, a mix of determination and despair. Just forget everything and be normal. Amy turned to him, her eyes trying to capture the hope flickering within him. What if normal is just a state of mind? She mused, biting her lip as she carefully chose her words. Maybe it's about finding joy in today, even if tomorrow's a question mark. He glanced at her, searching her expression as if it held the answers to his fears. You make it sound so easy, he replied with a faint smile, though his brow still furrowed. It's not easy, she admitted. But sometimes, it's the little things that help us feel alive. Like this moment. She gestured at the water, sparkling with remnants of sunlight. Let us grab onto it, even if just for now. They lingered at the water's edge for a while longer, with Amy skipping a pebble across the surface while Marcus watched, a small grin breaking through his worries. Each skip felt like it echoed a sense of relief, if only momentarily, but then the stillness was pierced by the sudden honk of a car horn. They turned to see an elderly couple pulling up in their vintage car, a glimmer of nostalgia shining through the rust on the fenders. As they exited, the woman beamed at Marcus. You look just like my grandson, she exclaimed as he laughed, the sound light and childlike. Is that a good thing? Oh, absolutely, she replied, leaning forward. He is kind and full of life, just like you. It's good to see young people enjoying the world. As the couple walked by, Amy marveled at the warmth in the simple exchange. It was a reminder that beauty still existed, even amidst uncertainty. But reality quickly returned like a dark cloud. What if the tests don't come back good? Marcus whispered, his brow furrowed deeply again. I feel like I'm just clinging to this illusion. His vulnerability hung in the air, heavy and palpable. No one knows what tomorrow brings, she said softly, stepping closer. But what we've shared today, that's real. He turned to her, and she could see the gears turning in his mind. Sometimes I feel guilty for enjoying moments when I know the storm is coming. Guilt won't change the outcome, she replied firmly. It can't take away your right to find joy. Life is a mix of light and dark, and we just have to ride it out together. Silence fell as Marcus absorbed her words. The air felt charged, as if the world paused for them. Finally, he breathed out heavily. All right, let us promise to hold on to these moments. Whatever happens. Deal, she said, extending her hand as a statement of unwavering support. As they sealed their promise, the sound of laughter echoed nearby. A group of children were racing alongside the river, their joy infectious. Amy watched them, and for a fleeting moment, the shadows in her heart lightened. She leaned close to Marcus. Let us take a short walk over there and watch them. All right? He nodded, a hesitant excitement flickering in his eyes. As they walked toward the laughter, the past few moments began to fade slightly. Perhaps this was the balance they needed, acknowledgement of their fear combined with the will to embrace happiness. But in the back of her mind, a chilling thought formed. Did this enjoyment mask deeper, unaddressed issues? Would fleeting joy be enough to support them through the darkest days ahead? Just as they reached the children's laughter, a chilling thought struck Amy. What if this moment is just a band-aid on an emerging wound? She turned to Marcus, their eyes locking. In that instant, she saw fear and fierce determination battling within him. How could they navigate this storm together? And as laughter echoed around them, both felt the uncertainty loom heavier than before. Would their promise hold as reality crashed down? The laughter of the children faded into a blur as Marcus and Amy stood frozen, the weight of their promise hanging like a low-hanging cloud. Each giggle felt like a moment taken from an alternate reality, where fear didn't exist and the horizon held only light. Let us get closer, Amy suggested, trying to chase away the lingering unease. She took Marcus's hand, pulling him gently forward. As they walked, watching the children sprint and tumble, something stirred inside Amy. It felt like a spark igniting. Perhaps the small memories of joy could create warmth against the approaching storm. They settled on a sun-warmed patch of grass, settling into the slice of normalcy amid chaos. Watching the children was like watching life unfold in its purest form, unfiltered laughter, unrestrained energy. One little boy tripped and stumbled, but instead of crying, he burst into laughter, the sound infectious. See, Marcus said, his eyes gleaming with a hint of that childlike wonder. Maybe we should just forget everything for a while and be like them. Amy chuckled. And trip over our feet? Sure, why not? He smiled wider, the corners of his mouth lifting with a genuine brightness she had missed. But that humor faded when Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket, shattering the moment. He hesitated before pulling it out, an uncertain look settling back onto his face. "What is it?" Amy asked, sensing the change in his demeanor. The children's laughter waned as if it too understood the shift. "Just a message from my doctor," he said, his voice tight. "Checking in, it's just routine stuff." She held her breath, longing to pull him back into that bubble of laughter. "They'll still be there after we enjoy this moment." He lingered, staring at the screen as if deciphering an unspoken code. "It feels like I'm avoiding the inevitable," he finally said, voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe some things need to be put on pause," she suggested softly. "Life can have its own schedule. We get to choose when to take a breath." Marcus clicked his phone shut, reluctantly slipping it back into his pocket. The conflict in his eyes was unmistakable. "You're right. For now, we're here." He turned to her, a tentative smile forming. With the sun dipping low, glimmers danced across the river's surface, creating sparks that felt almost magical. The atmosphere offered a sweet release, but Amy sensed the tension lurking beneath. Each fleeting moment of joy highlighted the uncertainty they both faced as the children raced past them again. One girl offered a cheeky grin, her messy hair bouncing with every step, that genuine joy washing over her like rivers of sunlight. "Come play with us," she yelled. "I think we've been summoned," Marcus said, his smile returning with a flutter of excitement. "Let us do it," Amy agreed, her heart racing. They joined the children, Marcus's laughter intertwining with theirs as they raced along the bank, leaving the heavy thoughts behind, if only for now. Yet inside Amy, doubts danced. Each laugh felt like an echo against the ticking clock, a reminder of the reality waiting for them. But in that moment, as sunlight faded and dusk fell, she decided to hold on tightly to the joy around them. Despite the specter of what lay ahead, as they collapsed onto the soft grass. Breathless from laughter, Amy caught Marcus glancing at her with an intensity that stole her breath. In his eyes, she saw everything: the hope, the worry, the love. "What if," he began slowly, "what if I lose all of this? What if it's all a lie?" His words hung heavy, and a chill danced down her spine. A single question loomed. Was the light they had found just an illusion before the darkest storm? And as shadows crept across the ground, she realized the stakes had never felt higher. Would they find a way to navigate the chaos, or would the laughter serve only to mask the rising storm? The sun dipped lower, bathing everything in a golden hue, but Amy's heart felt heavy, darkening against the bright backdrop. She could feel Marcus's gaze still resting on her, searching for reassurance, for something that would anchor him in the midst of his swirling fears. "Hey," she whispered, forcing a soft smile. "We're here now, right?" She reached out, brushing her fingers against his, hoping to bridge the gap between the laughter and the looming reality. "I know," he replied, but his voice was laced with uncertainty. Every laugh echoed louder than the last as the children chased each other. Yet here they were, trapped in their own silence. One of the children, a little girl with wide brown eyes and a wild crown of curls, plopped down beside them, panting from exertion. "You guys look sad," she exclaimed, her innocent honesty striking a nerve. "Why aren't you laughing?" Amy's heart swelled. How could such a small person hold so much power? "Oh, we were just thinking about how great all of that is." She waved her hand towards the shrieking kids, feigning a lightness she didn't feel. "Then stop thinking. Come play." The girl jumped up and tugged at Amy's hand. With a glance at Marcus, Amy saw a flicker of hesitance in his eyes. "What do you say? Should we join?" she asked, tentative hope now mixing with the anxiety coiling in her chest. He looked away, weighing momentum against fear. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he nodded. "Okay, I'll try." The smile that followed was faint but real, a small victory. Perhaps that as they joined the circle of chaos, Amy allowed herself to be swept into the spirit of it. She chased after the children, a whirlwind of movement and laughter, each step away from the darkness. They played tag, racing down the grassy banks while the last glimmers of daylight began to wane, turning the sky into shades of purple and blue. Marcus seemed to ease with each laugh shared. The sound of children's voices faded into the background as they ran, hand in hand, pushing deeper into a world free from worry. But just as Amy began to feel the full weight of the moment, something pricked at her. That whisper of darkness returned, wrapping around her heart like icy fingers. Suddenly, an unexpected cry broke through the joyful sounds around them. "Mom!" A boy had fallen hard, scrapes blooming across his knee. Panic spread through the children, and Marcus stiffened, remembering the thoughts they tried to drown. "Hey, it's okay." Amy rushed to the child's side, kneeling down. "Look, you're okay. You just need a little bit of love and a bandage." The mother quickly rushed over, her expression a mix of worry and relief, and Amy felt the knot in her stomach tighten. It was a familiar scene, a reminder of how quickly joy could turn into pain. Marcus was by her side in an instant, his comforting presence steadying her as they both shared a reassuring glance with the boy. "You're going to be all right, buddy," he added with gentle confidence. "You're brave. Just watch. Soon you'll be back running around without a care in the world." As calm settled around them again, Amy caught the mother's grateful eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. In moments like this, she realized that laughter wasn't just a shield, but also a beacon shining through, showing that even in pain, there was unity and strength. When the boy finally smiled through his tears, Amy felt a flicker of hope ignite within her once again. Maybe they could be brave together, at least for now. As they laughed with the children once more, dusk fully enveloped the park. But then Marcus's phone buzzed again in his pocket, breaking through the tapestry of joy they had woven. The chilled grip of reality held tight once more. What news awaited him this time? Amy's heart raced, the fear blooming again. Could they cling to this moment, or would it slip through their fingers like grains of sand with the tide? With Marcus looking uncertain, the question loomed large in her mind. How would they face what lay ahead? The night deepened around Willow Creek, starry skies casting a halo of light that felt both magical and suffocating. In the park, laughter faded, turning into murmurs as children wound down from their games, leaves crunching beneath their tiny feet. Amy stood close to Marcus, her heart and mind warring, the warmth of the recent moments both a balm and a reminder of the shadow lingering above them. "Just one more moment," Marcus murmured, eyeing the horizon as if its golden edge could push back the darkening sky. His fingers brushed hers, anchoring her to this space where joy and fear coexisted. She felt an electric thrill, the fleeting moments where they chose to believe in the light. "But we both know," he began, a slight tremor in his voice that set her nerves alight. "We have to face what's coming, don't we? It's only a moment until reality kicks back in." She nodded, a lump forming in her throat. It was true. The soft innocence of laughter couldn't erase the enormity of what lay ahead. But she didn't want to dwell in sorrow this night, not when they stood at the river's edge, surrounded by shimmering possibilities. "We can face it," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt, "and we'll do it together, step by step." The twilight deepened as they quietly promised to hold that truth, their hands intertwined, resting between the shadows and light. In this togetherness, possibility seemed to bloom, luminous and fragile. "You know," he said, "the kids showed me something tonight. They reminded me that joy doesn't have to mask the fear. It can exist alongside it." "That's right." Amy smiled, feeling a spark of warmth radiate back into her heart. "It's about accepting both, isn't it? We don't have to be perfect." She squeezed his hand tighter, buoyed by their shared realizations. It felt monumental, but then, without warning, Marcus's phone buzzed again, sending a wave of dread rippling through her. She could see the tension knot in his jaw as his fingers hovered over the screen. "This could be my doctor," he said, the certainty in him wavering. Amy's heart raced. "Do you want to look?" "I think I have to," he answered, the weight of his decision palpable in the air. Taking a deep breath, he finally tapped the screen, his eyes scanning the message. The silence around them felt suffocating, the distant sounds of the park fading away as if the world was holding its breath. Minutes passed like hours before Marcus raised his gaze, a mix of emotions swirling in his blue irises. It's not the news we wanted, but it's not hopeless." The shadow that loomed shifted ever so slightly. They found something they want to investigate further, but there's a plan. Relief and dread collided within Amy. She wanted to celebrate, but felt the caution clinging to her heart. "What does this mean for you?" "It means we can still fight. That I can still fight." His voice trembled with new layers of emotion, determination etched into his features. but it's going to be tougher than I thought. Tears pooled in her eyes. Marcus, no, he interrupted gently, stepping closer. We're not going to unravel now. Not after this day. Together, remember? Yes. Together, she confirmed, the words weaving a bond anew. As darkness cloaked the park, stars blinked to life, fighting for dominance in the sky's vastness. They walked slowly toward the parking lot, their fingers still entwined, hearts tethered in shared resolve. With every shared step, shadows seemed to recede. We really can't let fear steal our light, can we? Marcus asked, lips curling slightly as they approached the car. No, Amy responded, her spirit ignited, and we won tea. People face storms every day. We just have to take shelter under each other. The truth vibrated between them, a subtle, powerful echo. With every laugh shared, every tear shed, they were constructing a bridge made from raw, human connection. As they reached the car, she turned to him. You're not alone in this fight. You never have been. I'm with you for all of it. Thank you, Amy, he breathed, eyes shimmering, full of gratitude and a fresh layer of understanding. Let us embrace the messy, the uncertain. Let us make the choice to live. She grinned, warmth blooming in her chest, a sense of victory blossoming in the depths. They climbed into the car, the engine humming like a reassurance beneath them, ready to propel them toward whatever lay ahead as they drove through the winding streets of Willow Creek. She looked at glimpses of familiar faces, neighbors now not so distant, friends woven together in a community's embrace. This was the essence of their journey, acknowledging vulnerability but choosing to shine bright in the face of it. This wasn't just a fight for Marcus's health. It was a pledge to cherish every laugh, every tear, to turn shadows into warmth. We've got this, right? He asked, the question echoing not just in the vehicle but deep within their spirits. Absolutely, she affirmed, a smile breaking through the weight of uncertainty. This is just the beginning. With that, possibilities stretched before them like the winding road, uncertain but beautiful, a journey that, together, they would navigate one hopeful step at a time. And just like that, under the starry expanse, a new chapter unfurled, one filled with laughter, courage, and the love that flourished in the tiniest moments, even amidst the storms. Now, in this moment of triumph and connection, I need you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will ignite your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support us. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. You need to support the channel, because only true fans understand the importance of this community.